Good morning and welcome back to the Mindfully Gay podcast. I'm John
And I'm Jerry.
and we are here. We've had some time off.
It has been hell.
I mean, our episodes are coming out regularly, so you haven't missed anything, but we haven't seen each other for a little while.
What, almost a month, right?
Yeah, wow.
Well,
Yeah.
but we should explain.
Yeah, we can explain because maybe you're experiencing this too or have.
Well, it's March,
Yeah, and almost end of March here, yeah.
and
As we're
and
recording
I got
this.
sick
Oh.
and then re-sick,
Mm-hmm.
and seriously, like for two or 3 weeks,
Oh,
just was totally unable to do anything.
just couldn't function at all, huh?
And then
And then I got a cold and that went away. Then I promptly caught another one.
good
So,
job,
yeah, and that,
overachiever.
yeah. Way to go, John, right? So I'm still feeling the remnants of that and I mean, I feel like I feel better, I feel fine.
Yeah.
But just this nagging, coughing and all that stuff. So just to, TMI, too much information about our general health.
You'll probably get this around Pride, and we won't even remember that March happened.
Right? Exactly. Well, it's good to see you.
Yeah.
And so for our topic today, we seem to go back to several things, maybe past episodes, things that we've talked about before that we want to maybe refresh, or new ideas come up, or we'll get inspired by some other online like TikTok and Instagram posts from folks. And this one was interesting that you had sent me about just, kind of gay men meeting and what's the expectation in meeting each other in any setting, And I thought, wow, this is fascinating. It gave me a new perspective on just meeting other gay men in general, but also made me think about, because we were always asking the question, why is it difficult or challenging for some folks to show up, like to some of our social events? Because they are just social events, and in our retreats, etc. But sometimes we get the question from folks who might be interested. It's like, well, is there going to be nudity? Is there sex? Is there, those kinds of
Yeah,
questions seem to pop up when we have these general events in our retreats. And that's what one of those postings were about. Want to elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah. Well, I think the question that the influencer was putting out there is why gay men are so sex-centric.
Sex-centric, yeah.
And that everything seems to have a sexual overtone. And what's that about?
Yeah.
Now, he reaches some conclusions that I think are interesting and insightful. But then you and I were just talking about, well, there could be some alternatives to that mentality as well.
Right.
But I think the one thing that I heard him say is, when you're closeted, like sexuality becomes currency.
Oh, yeah. Interesting.
Right. And so when you realize that the thing that's different about you is what you're sexually interested in, and when that's marginalized, it seems to amplify or kind of make the topic bigger. And then it kind of saturates everything. And of course, social media feeds into this. Our parties and events feed into it. And so there becomes this narrative about your sexuality being some kind of currency or value or worth, and what are the consequences of that emphasis?
Right. Interesting, because it's just another way of looking at sexuality and the expression of such, because we certainly don't want to negate sexuality and the expression of sex, because we do see that as something we are very proud of, our sexual prowess and our sexuality and the expression of such. And there's other ways of looking at it, and does it sometimes get in the way, or could it potentially get in the way, especially with just casual encounters? Like you said, I think it's an interesting word to use, currency. as it's a way of, you know, in order for me to connect with you, I've got to like pay this price of
Mm,
such with sex or some kind of sexual output. Um, and I think certainly in some situations, yes, that's the encounter. That's how things go. But what if you're just, you know, going bowling, meeting for a coffee date, or seeing each other at the gym or something? This influencer kind of says, why do we sexualize even those encounters? Or at least maybe run through our heads that, oh, is this going to be about sex
right.
and not just, hey, how you doing?
Right.
Let's grab coffee. Very interesting. Very interesting.
Well, and I think it's interesting as you were mentioning all those venues. I thought, yeah, each one of those venues has kind of like some sexual edge to it.
Yeah.
Like if you go to the gym,
Yeah.
the gym can be for working out, but you also have guys who are wearing tank tops and shorts and going in the sauna and in the locker room.
Yeah.
And you know, that becomes an interesting atmosphere.
Absolutely. I get it.
What were some bowling? Have you seen bowling shoes?
Sexy.
Aphrodisiacs.
Well, I said bowling because we did bowling, but I wondered, even in just the casualness and playfulness of just bowling, sometimes there's, flirtation, or is that expected? And I don't know, maybe is sex going to happen after this? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah. And as we're talking about this, the complexity of this topic is starting to unravel for me
yeah,
a little bit,
okay, yeah,
right? Because like I have friends that I love dearly, who I think are very sexy people,
yeah,
and yet I don't kind of I guess I just don't go into the place of sexy with them,
mm-hmm,
but I can certainly look and be objective and see you know what they have and what they what I value about them in that capacity.
right,
But what I really appreciate is the connectedness we have in our relationships.
right,
Um, and then I brought up this thing before we started recording. I'll see if I can resurrect it.
mm-hmm,
If we look at culture on a whole, right, there is this oppressive attitude around sexuality, gay, straight, whatever, male, female, right? We treat it as this incredibly private, insulated kind of a thing. And then I think, the arcing, controlling nature of that, I think, is we live in a Christian-dominated culture.
mm-hmm,
And so whether you're Christian or not, you're certainly kind of caught up in the cultural influences of that,
right,
which teach us that sexuality is something to be ashamed of.
mm,
And then when I think about like the gay movement and gay men in particular, what I see that I'm appreciating is a surgence of being out and open and explicit about our sexuality.
yes,
And so are we judging ourselves through a heteronormative lens that
mm,
everything is about sexuality and what's wrong with us
mm.
because that's the overarching narrative? Or are we a community that is perhaps inviting a new standard of appreciation around our sexuality?
Wow, that's a really good question.
Go ahead, answer it.
I don't know if I have an answer, but it's certainly given me a new vision around the culture in which we live and the narratives in which we're
Yeah,
embedded. Yet, we pride ourselves on our sexual exploits and being able to be open about our sexuality. But is there a conflict there where somehow we shame each other or ourselves for being that explicit and
right.
outwardly about our sexuality?
Well, and I sometimes think the side effects of that openness again, is it's become very youth-centric. It's become very, you know, we just dropped a podcast about ageism, right? And in that context, it's interesting. Um, like as much as I appreciate kind of like the sexual revolution and our willingness to embrace and accept our sexuality, it seems like it comes with a lot of casualties.
It can. It can. Mm-hmm.
And you know, for instance, you know, if I'm a big person,
Mm-hmm.
right? Do I feel marginalized in a community that celebrates abs?
Right.
Um, if I'm a person of color,
Mm-hmm.
in a community that tends to privilege white youth, do people of color feel marginalized or stereotyped, if you will?
Stereotyped, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, there's all these kind of implications, and I'm putting it out there as just fodder for thought.
Right.
But I think I believe that in the place of consciousness, we then can liberate. If what we want is a sexual revolution, that should be a revolution that includes everyone.
Yeah.
And it's in that place of consciousness where we look at our blind sides, where we might recognize how we marginalize or isolate people in the name of pride.
Yeah. I like that. Because there's certainly, I know for myself, I certainly want to celebrate my sexuality and expression of such, and I want to celebrate others. That's one of the things that actually I try to teach in my tantra classes. And speaking of that, in the tantra, what I'm trying to relay to folks is a few things, just a few simple concepts. Really, it's about one is just slowing down, taking your time, kind of getting in tune with self and honoring and loving yourself and then once you have a stronger connection and maybe love and appreciation for yourself both physically and internally, whether it's spiritual, emotional, etc., then it's a little bit easier than to if you this is how I say it, if you love yourself that deeply and see yourself as a um, something beyond your physical, mental, emotional self, but also see yourself as magical and spiritual, you start to see others in the same way. And that's the magic of tantra. And when you see others in the same way, I think it does open up that valuing of people and seeing people not just for this physical shell, but something deep and beautiful that emanates from within, that exudes outward.
Mhm.
That's what tantra can teach us. And so, yeah, just to be more mindful around, am I being judgy because it's a certain body type that maybe I'm not particularly attracted to, and I get judgy around that, or just kind of seeing, oh, a person, a beautiful person,
Mhm.
just taking that moment to recognize the humanity and the beauty and the magic of that individual. If that can, yeah, somehow get more exploited, then I think our community. We've talked about that in what that really means. A real community can really form, especially in the way of, like you said, if we're really gonna have a sexual revolution and evolution, then yeah, we gotta grow up spiritually a little bit
Yeah.
and be more mindful.
Do you know, I'm sitting thinking about some different scenarios
Mm-hmm.
that I've been in.
Mm.
And, the last couple of years have been really interesting for me because I lost a bunch of weight. I got in shape. And it's interesting because today I get a whole different level of attention than I did 5 years ago. And I don't know how I feel about that
Mm.
because I feel like I'm the same person,
Mm-hmm.
healthier, I would say. But I, as much as I'm appreciating the new attention, there's a part of me that feels almost embarrassed by it. Not
Mm.
because I'm getting the attention, but because, is this what I had to do to get people's attention?
Oh, yeah.
Did I have to go through this personal, and I didn't do it.
For that.
Yeah, I did it because I wanted to be able to play with my grandkids.
Exactly.
Um, but am I making sense?
Oh, yeah. Totally
Yeah.
making sense to me.
And I'm thinking with that new shift, right? I
Mhm.
feel liberated in so many ways, and yet
Mm.
um, I'm perplexed at, um, do people see me,
Mhm.
or they just see the packaging?
Yeah. Yeah. And it probably begs the question, it's like, well, why do they want to get to know me?
Right.
Are they only speaking to me because they see this outer shell? Or do they really want to know me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you've run into this conflict
Hmm.
of that, especially when you are able to kind of look beyond, just the physical being and know that there's something more. And when you're the subject of that, it's a really interesting perspective of, are they seeing me as a person, or they're just seeing this physical shell, this body? And am I, am I feeding into the narrative of, oh, you got to look a certain way to
Yep.
gain the
Exactly.
acceptance and attraction of attractiveness from, other people? It's, oh, wow.
So I do think there's some value. I know for me, I think my self-esteem has certainly shifted, and I think about myself differently, and so I present differently and think a little bit more consciously about how I'm doing things, which I think before, because I had maybe not such a low, but I had a lower sense of myself. I didn't put as much care and attention to those things. Um, yeah, and so in this conversation, I want to acknowledge that sex is fun, sexuality, flirting, cruising, all those things are enticing and positive. And yet, um, I think what's been so difficult with the mindfully gay thing that we're working on is getting people to events. And I think, is there something wrong with our events? I'm perplexed. And yet the narrative I hear, and we got an email just the other day, right, where people are trying to figure out what they're getting involved in.
Yeah.
And there's this fear and this hesitancy that if it's not in the scope of sexuality, that I probably wouldn't be interested in it.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm not sure I would fit in.
Right.
Right. And so it kind of brings us back to that body, mind, spirit paradigm. It's like
Mm-hmm.
we all may have really great bodies and celebrate our bodies, but are we neglecting mind and spirit?
Exactly. Yeah. The Gosh, it's just opened up so much in my little brain here in regards to this. And it's like kind of going back to that scenario of, here we are putting out the retreats and social events, and maybe someone on the outside looking in and wondering, should I sign up for this? It's like, kind of going back to that currency. What am I paying for? What am I showing up to do? What's expected of me? Because there's certainly people in line with their ticket ready to pay, for, oh, is there sex involved? I'm there. you know I'm just going to use Morning Wood as an example. Wonderful group and monthly
Events.
parties, events, and it's sexual, and so guys know what to expect. um,
And they're packed.
and they're packed. Yes, I mean, but there is an element of, just social. You can just go and just socialize. You really can. But knowing that, that there is sex and expression of such, and you wear your sexy gear and costumes and whatever the theme might be, people know what they're paying for. Even if you're just going there to socialize, there's going to be this element and buzz of sex. And that's what they're signing up for. Great. So there's that category of people. Then there's others who, gosh, there's this gay retreat, this gay men's retreat, and they're talking about radical self acceptance. Ooh, that sounds like something I want to be involved in. But I wonder if there's going to be sex.
Mhm.
And I'm not sure I want that, so let me check. So they want to know what they're paying for. Is this a sex thing?
Right.
Or is this, the body or sort of the mind spirit thing? Yes, sign me up for that. Then there's ones that are just kind of in between, I think. I don't know. What am I signing up for? I don't know what I want really.
Mhm.
And in showing up. And it even makes me think, because I think what we're selling, and we've been doing this for a long time, I think what we are selling is heavier on the, spirit mind, right? Mindfulness, spirituality, magic, etc. And sometimes I think, are we advertising to the wrong people? Maybe, are we advertising and putting this out to the morning wood category of people, the cruisy sex guys, the porn guys. Um, are we trying to advertise to them when we maybe should be advertising to the spiritual, mindful, yogi, magic guru, those folks
Mhm.
instead that happen to be gay and want more connections like this. So it makes me think about that. It's like, are we even advertising to the right people? If we're selling something and people have currency, where are they willing to put down their dollar? More questions.
Yeah.
Just more questions.
Well, yeah, first of all, I'm not sure where we find those folks. Like,
Which is an interesting
yeah,
statement.
yeah,
Where are those people?
yeah. Um, I'm not sure where to go with this because there's a lot of things going through my mind that shouldn't be recorded. I look, and I think you share in this in some degree. When we first got together around Queer Spirit, which was the first incarnation of Mindfully Gay, we sat there and said, look, we want to create something that allows men to come together and build community and connection. And I mean, I could throw a stone and hit 14 clients that would all be saying the same thing.
Yeah.
People love the idea. We get feedback all the time on TikTok and Instagram. People love the concepts. People love the ideas. And yet there seems to be this barrier from breaking out of old patterns into new patterns. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of hold to this vision that I think there's a lot of people out there who secretly hold this desire of connectedness and community. When we were fighting more aggressively for our civil rights, that happened by default in the world of activism.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, can't begin to tell you how many friends I built 30 years ago at different rallies and activist projects that we were working on. and even that whole template has shifted with social media and people's idea of being an activist is much more lazier than it used to be. Yeah. And so I really believe that people are hungry for what we want, what we have to offer.
I agree.
But I think there's old patterns die hard. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think we could be reaching out to different communities where mindfulness is a topic. And I've certainly have seen some. I'm starting to see on Instagram, for instance, different retreats and communities that are being built around some of these ideas.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
so, yeah, the question of the sexuality piece. Like, I would love for our retreats to include a sensuality component. I and yet I think the selling piece so far has been that people are looking for places where they can be with other gay men that doesn't have that expectation or pressure.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we run into that dilemma of like, well, do we just, pursue and advertise and offer up just this spirit and mind part, or do we need to sprinkle in,
Some body.
the body part, the intimacy part, as a way to get people to the event? I think we kind of play with that back and forth, and whether to include that or not. But the thing is, we include sexuality in our discussions anyway. They may not be actual sex going on at the events, but we certainly invite conversation around sexual expression in our circles and at our retreats. And I think we say that in our statements, but I don't know. It's still kind of a juggling act as far as, what do we want to offer, what are we offering, and how do we get people through the door? I don't know. Maybe we offer both. Here's a retreat where it's just spirit, mind. Here's another retreat where we're going to do some tantra work. We're going to do some sexual exploration, intimacy exercises and whatnot. And so you can kind of dip your toe into other ways of expressing self. Maybe there's certainly room. We've done that before, certainly room for both. But I think it was a little simpler 30 years now, isn't it? Queer Spirit, because one, no social media.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that we said about forming it was, yes, forming a community and giving gay men an alternative to the bars, because that's where guys were meeting.
Yep.
And now there's a whole array of ways of how people can meet. Yes, there's the bars, but now, of course, there's the hookup apps, and there's so many new ways that that allow people to connect and find their people for sex or hookups or connections. And like you said, it's kind of diluted these other parts, like activism or even just mindful connections and just coming together as a community without the element of actual sex. So yeah, we run into that dilemma of just technology on the forefront of how people can connect. And a lot of it is highly sexualized.
I guess I have to wonder, just kind of broadening the conversation a little bit, right? This guy who did the social media post, right, talked about sexual currency and how we tend to keep defaulting to the places of sexuality. And so I guess my question, maybe for the listeners and for us, is what's the ideal? Like, what is the ideal balance? Because is what gay men do, right? We tend to be trailblazers.
Yeah,
right?
In a lot of ways, yes.
And so are we opening doors and attitudes around sexuality that fly in the face of conservatism? And maybe that's healthy. Maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I just kind of wonder if we achieved the ideal balance. I wonder what that would look like.
Yeah, that's a good question and observation. Because I think we are kind of, I don't know, winning at the, busting down the doors of conservatism in regards to sexual expression. I think we got that in the bag. Because we're highly influential and inspiring, and people aspire to be, more like us in a lot of ways. and you know, what would happen? You know, is that where's the balance, and is that enough to win the game?
Yeah.
And does that wear out? Or I don't know. I'm just putting those out there. But you know, what would the balance look like? What is the balance of that part of self that's expressive and kind of busting down the doors? But what if our sensuality, our spirituality did the same? And could it? I think it could, but is it, where is it on the scale
Yeah.
of things? Wow. So many things. 'Cause you know, I'm even thinking about just how I have lived in that narrative of, gosh, you know, this happened just recently where, you know, the gym, I love going to the gym, but part of going to the gym for me is it's titillating for me. Just seeing the attractive people, the guys, what they're wearing, what they're not wearing. You know, there's just things that are very titillating to me. And especially if I see a guy that, ooh, he's kind of cute. You know, I'm doing it. I'm sexualizing this space that I go to regularly, and that's part of the excitement of me going. Um, and I'll see people, and I just will observe and like, ooh, he has nice legs. Ooh, he has nice arms, or you know, kind of objectifying. I don't know these people. I only know them by their figure,
Ah.
by their body. Well, I came upon this situation just pretty recently where I kept seeing this same guy and found him attractive, and thought, okay, I'm gonna do something different because I normally don't do this. I usually keep them at bay, and they're just an object to me. But what if I somehow made them a subject? And so I saw we happened to be at in the locker room at the same time, and mostly undressed, maybe wearing a towel, maybe a pair of shorts or something, so pretty stripped down. And I know that we were kind of looking at each other. Um, the banter was really, oh, how was your workout? You know, how often do you come to the gym, et cetera, et cetera, and that kind of thing. And I wanted to stay on that, and we ended up sitting in the sauna, and where that too could be, you know, certainly a highly sexualized situation. I tried to, I guess, find that balance and strike up conversation and get to know this person. Oh, what's your name?
Mm. Mm.
Oh, what do you do? Oh, you know, are you, you know, coming to the gym, you know, after work, or this is before work? You know, just banter in that way. And so trying to maybe smooth out the sexualized part and make this person a human. And and I got the sense that that made them comfortable,
Mm.
that it wasn't just this sexual energy that was vibing between us. Because I think we both said, you're attractive, you know, you're good looking, but but tried to maybe diffuse that a little bit by getting to the human part.
Mm.
And I softened, and it looked like he softened too, that, oh, this is okay. And it made it even, I don't know, to me it made him more attractive because I got to speak with him.
Mm.
And I don't know, I want to do more of that, less objectifying, right, and more getting to know the human, and vice versa.
Then his wife came and picked him up.
Right, exactly.
No.
Because I think what has happened with some of my close friends that I have now, I met some people on Scruff, a sex app, and decided, oh, let's get together. Went out for coffee just to get to know each other.
Mm.
And in a lot of those cases, we never had sex, but we have a fantastic friendship,
Mm.
a relationship in that sense, not sexualized, but humanized. And if we can do maybe, I don't know, experiment with that a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great example of how do we broaden our repertoire with people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had lots of interesting conversations with people on, in fact, when I was sick, it was interesting how many guys on Grindr were checking in on me.
Yeah. Like, where are you?
Yeah, where you been?
Yeah. Yeah.
And um, most of these guys I've never met, or we've just kind of banter online,
Online, right?
or have
Yeah.
found common interest.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's this guy who comes to our lodges,
Mm.
and when we started talking online, very quickly realized he was raised in Mexico in the traditions and the culture of his medicine.
Ah.
And so we almost instantly connected on
On
this.
that, yeah.
Yeah, and he's
Mhm.
been such a beautiful addition to our little community.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Um, he has a specialty in herbology.
Ooh.
Yeah. But learned all about that on Grindr.
Yeah. When I think people are willing to kind of go that extra mile, I guess. Like I said, I think there's categories of people and what you're looking for and what you're wanting, right? It's like if it's sex, you're going for sex, and if the other person isn't interested in that, then you kind of move on. If the things your intentions don't match, and then you kind of move on. Because that happens at the gym too. It certainly happens online. You want to look, you're looking to hook up? No, okay, and it just kind of just moves on.
Mm-hmm.
But when I think there's the extra mile of getting to know a person, even if it's digitally, I think there's something there.
Yeah.
Because that's something I like to do. I'm not online necessarily to hook up. I like to meet people and see people. I see them, I see their pictures, and I might woof or say hi or something. And sometimes it kind of develops into something because you find something in common.
Yeah.
Or they've written something in their description that you can latch onto. People see that I do yoga. Oh, so we start talking
Are
about
there
yoga.
descriptions on those sites?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
You can fill those out with,
Really?
other things.
I just thought it was pictures.
Yeah, just going that extra mile of who's the human being on the other side of this screen that you're potentially, that you're talking to. I try to imagine, what if this person was actually in front of me? I try to type and chat as if they were right next to me or right in front of me, as a human, as a human being. Yeah, just certainly taking that, going back to that influencer, and just the question of why do we sexualize just about every situation that we're in, especially when it's gay men and that there's other gay men around.
I imagine, I don't have an active memory of this because it was in the 70s. But if you think about when I look at documentaries pre-HIV and AIDS, right? I mean, there was a lot of sex, a lot of openness around sexuality. And you think about it, that was the hippie era, and free love and blah, blah, blah. And then HIV, I think, comes along, and we kind of get shut down in many ways. And so now that we have PrEP and we have antivirals and undetectable, and right, it's kind of interesting. I'm kind of watching this pendulum swing, like where it must have been like in the 70s.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just wondering, is there value in that? Should there be balance in that? One thing I've noticed too, and I'm not suggesting that we've done this, but I've been finding different influencers who are having these topics on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I want to say 5 years ago, I don't think I ever saw those.
True. I would agree. I would certainly
But I'm
agree.
also seeing a lot of influencers where they're kind of like explicitly exploiting the sexual exploits of gay men.
Mm.
And I think, wow, that's so interesting that it's just so out there and so visible. And I, it's just an observation.
Right.
I don't even know what to make of it other than, um, yeah,
It might speak to what you said a little bit earlier. You know, you said, I think people are really craving this. They are craving deeper connection with self and others, and searching for it, and not, some are succeeding and maybe others aren't succeeding as well. And maybe, what we're doing, plus these other influencers that are starting to kind of show up, they're seeing it too,
mm,
in some way, in
yeah.
their own way and circle, that, you know let's, we got to be more kind to one another. Or are we highly sexualizing this? Or what about the mindfulness part? It seems like, these topics are starting to bubble up, because maybe there is a reaction to, a response to, people are looking for this.
I have always felt this from Queer Spirit to today.
Yeah.
And a lot of this comes from the Indigenous elders and teachers that I've worked with through the years. Melodoma, Clyde, etc.
Mm-hmm.
That embedded in those pre-colonial concepts of community and tribalism was an acceptance and an understanding of the value that all participants of the community brought,
Yes.
including who we would call gay, lesbian, transgender,
Right.
right? And what's interesting is in all those concepts, we were exceptional.
Yes.
We were the medicine people. We were the spiritualists. We were the ones that held the traditions and preserved the traditions and made sure that things were done appropriately. But we had an honored and respected place in the community.
Right.
And I've always felt between Queer Spirit and Mindfully Gay, like the overarching thing that motivates me is bringing our people back to their medicine.
Yes.
Bringing people back to their magic. And interesting enough, a lot of that medicine and magic had direct correlation with their sexuality.
Wow. Yes.
The power of orgasm,
Mm-hmm.
the power of the sexuality as an energy
Yes.
in moving and healing and helping people.
Yes.
And so I've always kind of felt what I've held when I think about like the radical fairies, when I think about Queer Spirit, when I think about Mindfully Gay, that these are all tools that invite us to come back into our power, to not just exploit it and shoot it like a shotgun, but to recognize how to work with and harness that medicine.
Absolutely. Excuse me. I visualize kind of this melding, this integration of all parts of self in that regard. And it was celebrated, it was highlighted, and yes, we had a place in tribe and in community. Somewhere along our history, it got stripped and separate.
Yeah.
Colonialism, heterosexism, Christianity. I mean, so many things stripped us away from the magic and medicine of our whole beings and expression of self, and our placement in our communities. And I think we're still kind of living in those two lanes, so to speak. And maybe, yeah, maybe, I mean, I really do feel, and maybe you feel this too, that we've been on a mission. And it's part of our presence here and why we are here, why we've been doing this for so long, to rally back and, like you said, kind of bring back those people that are kind of lost out there, the sheep out there, and kind of bring them back to the group, and realize and remember our gifts, our gay gifts and magic and blessings, and the medicine that we have of our whole beings. Yeah, and that just kind of reinforces for me, even in this the speculation of wow, everything is sexualized. How and why is that? And now remembering, like, oh yes, what's our mission?
Yeah.
Why are we here?
Yeah.
To pull all that back. Yeah, so powerful.
Well, and I think this may sound a little judgmental, but we'll put it out there. I think in some regards, as a community, we operate from a very juvenile mindset. Right? We're afraid of missing out. We're afraid that we're being left out. We collude and participate because everyone else is doing it. Right? And so I think for us to get to that place of personal medicine and magic, especially around our sexuality, we are going to have to dare to step out of the group think.
Yes.
And risk being original.
Yeah. Because take that risk. Take the risk. It might be scary. Risks are scary, but
complaining about it and judging it is just a cheap, addictive process.
Yeah, it just keeps you in that loop, in that narrative.
Yeah.
Right.
But to empower yourself to actually engineer the life that you desire.
Yes. Gosh. This is making me think of, this is a little bit off topic and a little bit, by the time this episode airs, I don't know when it's going to be. It might actually be before, because there's a new Steven Spielberg movie coming out. I think it doesn't come out until June. And it's called Disclosure, or Disclosure Day.
Really?
Yeah, and from the previews, it looks like another kind of alien movie. And then I watched the trailers, and then people like to break down the trailers, like what's this really about. So I heard a psychologist actually kind of break down what's just in the trailer, which it's just snippets and snapshots. But what he theorized around this was, this is not an alien movie. It's about something that's been known probably for a very long time, that maybe the government was, I don't know, holding as a secret. And now, if we disclose what this secret is, there's no turning back. And the speculation or the theory is, what's happening, because there's all these weird things that are happening, these shifts, and even other landscapes, and where animals and people are kind of integrating and mingling together in harmony and no chaos and whatnot, that the speculation is the secret is not aliens, but some type of spiritual connection of all beings, kind of this tantric thing, really, that brings people together in harmony and love, and in seeing each other for the highest being that they are, whether it's an animal, tree, or human. We're all the same, but it's been kept a secret. and the people are kind of in the know, who have kept the secret. If this is made known, if it's disclosed, it's going to change everything. So it's kind of making me think of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, there's this secret, and there's a rumbling.
Yeah.
Something's shaking, something's shifting. We've been in on it. We're seeing these influencers, other people are certainly talking about it in different ways. Maybe there's going to be some disclosure, some kind of aha or shakeup or something, where gay folks, we're gonna be out there again. We're gonna be the medicine people that people are coming to again.
I think we already are. We just haven't fully embraced
it.
So maybe just kind of a parting thought, right? So we started Queer Spirit, in the 1800s, and but it was 30 years ago.
Yeah. We're close to it. We're pretty close to it, if not 30.
You were like 12.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we've certainly seen this evolution. I'll give a good example. When I started my practice,
Right.
when we were working with clients who were HIV positive and had AIDS, you were preparing them for end of life.
Mm.
That's not even in the equation anymore.
Right.
Right? And we have these medications and we have these tools, and people who are HIV positive are living full and vigorous lives like everyone else. So we've seen that. We've witnessed that transformation.
Right.
We are seeing people come out at much younger ages. People are coming out at 13 and 14 and even younger. We're seeing family members and people in the community be far more accepting. We have seen, I remember the dialogue at parties was, do you think we'll ever see marriage equality?
Yeah.
And the answer was always no.
No.
I was the optimist. So I was right when we got it.
Yeah.
But now in 2013, we got marriage equality, and it's, it's kind of on the blip, but it's there.
Yeah.
It's going to stay. So if we were taking this topic in 20 years from now, when we're doing this podcast at 80, what's the aha? What do we want to say has happened around our evolution, around how we interact with each other, how we engage each other, how we view our sexuality, how we celebrate it? How do we want to see 20 years from now?
The thing that just kind of popped into my head was, just on those same lines of like with medicine, with marriage, and in spirituality, that people are going to see us as those high leaders in spiritual expression and the fullness of who we are. That will be accepted and normalized. That we will be we're going to be in the politician seats. We're going to be in the in the churches and synagogues and whatever kind of churches that are out there. We're going to be in the therapy setting. People are going to be coming to us for some kind of guidance, and liberation and fulfillment. That's what I want to see. In the next 20 years.
I have confidence that we can get there. I think where I'm perplexed is I'm not sure how to create the gathering. I'm not sure how to initiate the conversation. I often feel like what we need is a good marketing person, because I think what we have as far as insight and talent and skill is all there.
All there.
Social media just eludes me.
In a way, we're still pretty new to it. We weren't born into this
No.
stuff.
So, well, I think there's more to this conversation. I think this is a good initiation.
Yeah. Wow.
I don't know, maybe our next podcast is we set up the massage table, get a few guys in here and do a demonstration.
Do a demonstration. How about that? Would you go for that? Comment
Twitter,
down below.
Baby. So, and again, I think it's important that we let people know we're just thinking out loud.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm a therapist. You're a psychotherapist. We do what we do in our world. We bring the best of what we have to the table. But I certainly, I'm not an expert. I don't know anyone out there that is an expert, because in order to get to the place of expertise, there has to be conversation. There has to be dialogue. There has to be multiple voices at the table expressing what's in their heart, expressing what they desire for themselves and for their community. And within that synergy becomes the narrative that we can start to build something on. And so You and I are just having a conversation, and we're inviting people to participate. And I'm hoping that in that synergy, we find community.
Yes, yes, I absolutely agree. We're taking something that's kind of narrow, and broadening the perspective on this. I mean, this certainly broadened my perspective. And I just want to do a shout out to Brian out there. You know who you are, because this is someone who I met years and years ago.
Unscruff.
I can't even remember how we met, but it's been a long time, and doesn't live in this state, and but listens to our podcast and has been inspired and wants to leave his tech world and industry and career and wants to learn more about what we're doing. He feels a calling. Like, I want to, like he says, John, you always ask us to, have the conversation. I want to have those conversations with people, and I'm going to go get trained in speaking a little bit better in this way, and go out there and talk to people.
Put them on the podcast.
Brian, if you want to be on the podcast, we'd love to have you on the podcast. So I'll reach out to you. So we, like you said, we're not the experts. We're just starting the conversation and encouraging you to have the conversation, just like Brian is out there. And this will keep on rolling. Yeah. This will stimulate something. This will certainly continue to evolve into something. So for you to maybe be like Brian, or take the steps towards having that conversation, just start with a simple comment, either on the YouTube channel if you're watching, on the socials. We've got TikTok. That seems like a pretty great place that people are conversing. So TikTok, that's Mindfully Gay. Certainly on the Instas, mindfully_gay. Visit our website because it has all of our activities and workshops and things that are coming up. So lots of ways to get in touch with us, but also interact with each other and take some of those risks. Take the risks that that we're trying to take as well. Let's keep this rolling. Let's keep the ball rolling. Anything else, Mr. Jerry?
Yeah, keep the ball rolling.
Well, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Mindfully Gay podcast, and we will see you next time.
Adios.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Mindfully Gay podcast. If you enjoyed our conversation today, please remember to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. This way you won't miss out on any of our upcoming episodes, where we continue to explore fascinating topics and share meaningful stories. Your support means the world to us. See you in the next episode.